Again, this week we're continuing with our final sermon series, The Great Farewell Discourse of the Bible, and I don't think anybody's as excited about it as I am. But this has been a joyful journey to go on, and our visitor today is King David, and so I'm going to read you some of the 29th chapter of 1 Chronicles. Not a real popular one, not a lot of information out there about 1 Chronicles. It appears this is 1 Chronicles 29. It's edited down a little bit, so we're not here until noontime, but here are some of the final words and acts of King David. So I want you to listen for the Spirit's word to you and to the church in these words. And King David said to the whole assembly, "My son Solomon, whom alone God has chosen, is young and inexperienced, and the work is great. For the temple will not be for mortals, but for the Lord God. So I have provided for the house of my God, so far as I was able, gold for the things of gold, silver for the things of silver, and the bronze for the things of bronze, the iron for the things of iron, the wood for the things of wood, besides great quantities of onyx and stones for setting, antimony, colored stones, all sorts of precious stones and marbles in abundance. Who then will offer willingly, consecrating themselves today to the Lord?" Then the leaders of the ancestral houses made their free will offerings, as did also the leaders of the tribes and the commanders of the thousands and of the hundreds and the officers over the king's work. And then the people rejoiced because they had given willingly, for with a single mind they have offered freely to the Lord. King David also rejoiced greatly. Then David blessed the Lord in the presence of all the assembly. David said, "Blessed are you, O God, the God of our ancestor Israel, forever and ever. Yours, O Lord, are the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, and the majesty, for all that is in the heavens and on the earth are yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted as head above all. And now, O God, we give thanks to you and praise your glorious name. O Lord, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Israel, our ancestors, keep forever such purposes and thoughts in the heart of your people and direct their hearts toward you. Grant to my son Solomon that with single mind he may keep your commandments, your decrees, and your statutes, performing all of them, and that he may build the temple for which I have made provision." Then David said to the whole assembly, "Bless the Lord your God." And all the assembly blessed the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and bowed their heads and prostrated themselves before the Lord and the king. And on the next day they offered sacrifices and burnt offerings, 1,000 bulls, 1,000 rams, and 1,000 lambs with their libations, and sacrifices in abundance for all Israel. And they ate and drank before the Lord on that day with great joy. Holy wisdom, holy word. Thanks be. And now I'm already out of breath. I haven't even given the sermon yet. That was a lot. Lots happening. So as I said before, I don't know about you, but I'm really loving this series on all the great goodbye speeches by biblical characters, and I found out there are more even than I'm talking to you about this month, but those are going to have to wait till another time. But I really love reading all these because I think each one is so suited to the person, right? That these speeches each betray something about the character of the person giving them. And this one by David just might be my favorite because it reminds me about the thing that I love the most about David, which is that he is a hustler. He is a hustler. He is a go-getter, right? Like he's always got something on, going, all through 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. Always got some scheme, some plan, some idea, right? He's like that friend that is always starting some new business venture and trying to get you involved in it. You know, that friend that is like simultaneously irksome in their pursuit of their goals, but you also admire their tireless optimism. Do you guys have that friend? A couple of you do. I really think that David's like that, right? Just living life with such ferocity. And sometimes as we read in 1st and 2nd Samuel, David's passions blow up in his face. And he's like running for his life for some goons that got on his tail through his bad choices. And sometimes his passion produces greatness, right? And you never can really tell if you're reading it for the first time which it's going to be. I mean, it's a thrilling story. It would make a great made-for-TV movie. Now, I'm wondering how much you remember about David from Sunday school. Anything? David and Goliath, that's pretty much it, right? Okay, so David, right, so I'm just going to go through this real quick in case we've forgotten everything we learned. He started out as a farmhand, the youngest son in his family, working out with the sheep, practicing his instruments, writing psalms, and then the old grizzly Samuel, the priest, comes along to tell him that God has chosen him to be king over Israel. This despite the fact there actually already was a king over Israel, Saul, but that doesn't matter. David kind of goes over to join the army and kind of work up the ranks, and he kills Goliath, right, with his slingshot, and he befriends King Saul and his son Jonathan, and he starts kind of nudging his way into leadership stuff, right? And then Saul wises up, and he starts to get a little bit suspicious, like, what is David always doing in here? Kind of seems like he's just really all around. And then Saul sends his thugs to kind of chase David all around the whole land and try to kill him and get him out of the running. And David's running and hiding and also trying to kind of secretly build a coalition of other people who will be faithful to him. I mean, it's very dramatic. Eventually, Saul's killed in battle, and David does become the king of Israel. He unites the other tribes and establishes Jerusalem as the capital. And he starts sketching out these plans for the great temple they're going to build there to their God. And then there's that little incident, right? You remember that one with Bathsheba on the rooftop? That's like later Sunday school. That's like middle school Sunday school, for those of you who might have gotten that far, right? And David gets a little bit overwhelmed by his own enthusiasm when he sees Bathsheba, let's just put it that way. And then he said, what am I going to do, right? He sends her husband to the front line of the battle to be killed so he won't have to deal with him. And that turns into a whole big problem between him and God and the priests and whatever. But he tries to save it. He marries Bathsheba, and he promises her that their son Solomon will rule after him. Meanwhile, his other son Absalom starts a rebellion against him, and David is running away again for his life. But then Absalom gets killed, and David returns again to the city and continues to rule until he's 70 years old. And he can't even keep himself warm anymore, so they hire this sort of proto-home health aide to sleep in his bed with him and keep him warm. And then it becomes clear that the time has come for him to die. And this is such a great part, because he's about to run a play on all of the people of Israel. Watch this, right? He gets everybody together, and they're probably really sad because overall he's done pretty well by them, right? He's made them from a ragtag sort of federation of tribes into a great nation on the cusp of building a great capital, a great temple. And so what does he do here in this final moment, right? He gives the world's greatest fundraising pitch. This is like the most amazing, well-timed stewardship sermon of all time. I don't know if you heard that, right? He's like, people of Israel, listen to me. I am about to die, and my son Solomon will reign after me, but he's so young and so inexperienced, and he'll have to work to build this temple all by himself, and so I have done all I can to try to set him up. In fact, I have given all my gold and all my silver, all my bronze and iron and quality hardwood and onyx and jewels and marbles. I have given all this. Basically, I have given all I had toward the amazing project of building our great nation and of worshiping our amazing God. Now, do you think that you might be willing to contribute too? I mean, it's honestly like a 9th century BCE telethon, right? And here's the thing. He gives this whole speech. And what do the people do? They buy it. All the people, right? They think, oh man, we got to help out. And then they give all their gold and silver and bronze and irons and quality hardwood and onyx and jewels and marbles. And this is my absolute favorite line. And the people rejoiced because they had given willingly, for with single mind they had offered freely to the Lord. I mean, bam, there it is. That's like the dream conclusion to every nonprofit's annual fund drive, right? And the people rejoiced because they had given willingly with a single mind, offering freely to whatever LLC 501c3. And then David says a prayer for everything that everybody's given. And he prays for Solomon, his successor. And then they have this huge party, like they do. And they sacrificed a couple of thousand ruminants, and they partied all night, celebrating all God had done for them and all God would do for them. And then David died, and Solomon took over as king with his father's blessing. And I just love this story because I love just how David went out. He went out hustling, right? I admire that so much, right? You can't even get out of bed. He's got a plan. He's got a scheme that he's working on. And I admire that. And in a way, I realize reading this text all week, I can actually resonate with that in some ways. Because I often experience my role as pastor a little bit like that too, right? Like a hustle. Like I've got to always have something going on or some idea or some project or some plan. And part of my job is to push us as a group to pursue our passions and dreams and to experiment with new things and celebrate when we're triumphant and deal with the fallout when we fail. And I really feel as though this job is often about leaving it all on the cutting room floor for God and for what God desires for our community. And you know what I gotta say? I don't know if it's like reading David's story all week or just kind of exhaustion from packing boxes has removed all my inhibitions. But I read this a couple days ago. I was like, you know what I need to do? I need to give a stewardship sermon on Sunday. I mean, maybe they... I already got one contribution. I was like, what if they don't have an opportunity to hear a stewardship sermon from the Pulpit Supply folks who will be here talking to you for a while after I leave? So here is the pitch for you. Are you ready for this? This is straight out of David. I want to tell you this. I have given so much of myself to this congregation these past 7 years. I have given my time and my energy and all my creativity and all the compassion that I could muster and all the optimism that I could stir up and all the administrative acumen, everything I could give, I have poured into the project of loving this church and helping its people love God and love each other and love their neighbors for these past many years. I really have. And I want you to hear that before I go, that I didn't keep anything back. Honestly, don't have any more ideas. And so now I got to go to a new place and just start at the beginning again. They'll think it sounds wonderful. But really, I hope that after the sadness of our parting has passed a little bit, that you will decide in your free will and in your joy to keep giving of yourselves to that same endeavor. And that you'll do it freely, and that you'll do it with open hearts, and that you'll do it happily. Not out of guilt or some devotion to me, but you'll do it because you are amazed, as I am, about all that God has done in this place these past years. And that you will do it because you have hope of all that God will do in the years to come. I really hope that this next year, Susie, I'm doing you a little favor up here. I hope that this next year, CCU has the most successful stewardship campaign that it ever has had. I hope you guys will have pledges coming out your ears, okay? I hope that people that have never given to this church before will start writing checks because they think, you know what? I like what's going on here, and I think I want to give to that. And I hope the people that have already been giving a little bit might give a little bit more because why not? I love what's happening here. I love these people. I hope the people who haven't ever served as officers before will put their hand up when the call comes because you know what? I want to be part of shaping the next chapter of this community and its message to its neighbors. And I really hope that, and I really believe that can happen. And if you're as excited about this as I am, just wait for your stewardship letter, which should arrive in your mailbox in about a month and a half, right? I believe that it can happen because I've seen it happen already. Because the truth is, you have invested a lot in this church in these past years. I hope you see that. I hope you see that I've given a lot of myself, but it's because you have given a lot of yourselves, right? This has been a team effort. We've built Vespers together. We've created welcoming worship together. We've dug deep into new theological territory together. We've beautified the space that we gather in together. We've made music together. You've done that, and I've done that. We've done that together, and I think it's really beautiful, and I hope you keep going. Because I got to tell you, there is more to do. We didn't get to all of it. A little bit like David here. We didn't get that labyrinth built. Didn't get to rename the church yet. I hope you keep thinking about that. Just a little aside confession. I was like, maybe that should be my final act. Like Joseph's brothers. I have come to this conclusion that I should rename the church on my last Sunday. I'm not going to, but please keep thinking about it. We didn't figure out how to connect our amazing adult education offerings to the broader community. We're still thinking about how do we build strong relationships in our online platform. Still thinking about that. So there's plenty to do. You know, we've been making plans and connections, and now is an opportunity not for a retreat, but for building on that foundation. And you know, someone is going to come after me. I know you can't see it, but someone's going to come and work with you to continue the good work we started, and I will be praying for that person. Just like David prayed for Solomon, I'll be hoping that God gives that person a double portion of wisdom and optimism and love for you like I have had. But I also hope that in these last final days together, I know they are drawing very short, that you might join in celebrating with me a little bit. Maybe that's a strange thing to do in a party, but maybe we are moving from the funereal part of our emotions about this to the sort of outdoor, let's share hilarious stories and bloopers from the time of Liz. I think maybe rather than only mourning what will be lost, I wonder if we can find joy in what we've shared together. You know, remember the good times we've had and the great memories and scenes that come into mind of wonderful things we've done. Maybe we could say thanks to each other, share a laugh about some of our foibles, and raise a glass to our success. I mean, I think that we'll do a little bit of that next Sunday, although I didn't hear any rumblings about anybody arranging for 1,000 rams to sacrifice. So if somebody would please put that on their list. I'm getting a no from Paul, but just, you know, this is biblical stuff here. But I hope we'll find some time to share those good things. And beyond that, I want to say this. I want to say, I hope you find in your own lives things that are worth hustling for. I really do, because I think that into each life, God speaks an invitation to live passionately and to find things to pour ourselves into. I think that's what David's talking about. I think it's what Wendell Berry is talking about, and it's what I've been talking about up here. Something to hustle for, to live passionately for. Of course, that looks different for every one of us. For some people, it's our job, and I feel like I'm lucky in that way. I get paid to come here and talk to you all about these crazy things that give me so much excitement. But for others of us, it's our family, it's work of advocacy, it's our community, it's our church, you know, whatever that is. Know that I'm praying for that for each of you. For time and space to take a look at your life and to assess what you're giving your treasures to, who you are casting your lots with, and to consider what that you are pouring yourself into is bearing fruit, right? To ask whether the things that used to bear fruit for you still bring you life, whether what you're doing is what you want to stake your legacy on. You know, I pray that you each might find that vitality in your heart and in your life as I have in this place. It has been a joy to hustle with and for you, and I've done it, and I do it now in the name of the God who has been hustling for us, I think, since the first day that we were, who found us worthy of the treasure of mercy, and who I believe will continue to walk with us until the end and beyond the end. And it's in the name of that God, certainly, that I offer these words, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and David too. So I offer that to you for your consideration, and I think now we'll move into a time of music. Amen.